and welcome to Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. And today we're into video 8 of our 12 video series on boundaries and all the subcategories of boundaries. And lately we've been talking about things like why you feel drained after certain people and how you can recognize red flags without overthinking. And today, we're going to follow up with all of those things that jumble up your mind. And we're going to be talking about mental clutter, how these things can build up mental clutter if you're not careful. So if you feel mentally scattered or mentally exhausted and unable to focus lately, that doesn't mean you lack discipline, motivation, or willpower. In many cases, the mental overload is your mind trying to protect you. We've been taught to interpret mental overload as a personal failure. This is the feeling of overwhelm. And you say to yourself, I just need to push harder. I should be able to handle this. But today I want to reframe that. Mental overload is often a protection response, especially when you're dealing with unclear situations, mixed signals, or relational stress that has been unresolved. So cognitive clutter is something that happens when your mind is trying to juggle too many inputs at once. Things like unanswered questions, inconsistent behavior from others, emotional ambiguity, and information without resolution. So your brain is wired to scan for threats and patterns. And when patterns don't resolve, your system stays activated. So that's not weakness, that's just biology. So let's separate two things people often confuse: mental clutter and input overload. Input overload is external. Too many conversations, too many options, too much content, advice, messaging. But mental noise is internal, like replaying conversations, overanalyzing tone or timing, wondering why something feels off, and trying to explain away inconsistencies. When those two stack up on each other, motivation drops, not because you're lazy, but because your brain is on overload with unprocessed signals. Now, this ties in directly with what we've been talking about the past week or so, about secretive relationships and red flags and their interpretation and what to do about them. When someone becomes vague, hides part of their communications, acts normal on the surface, but they're distant underneath, then your mind goes into pattern tracking mode. You might not consciously label it as a red flag yet, but your system does notice. And that creates cognitive clutter. You're holding what you see, what you feel, and what you've been told, and what doesn't line up. And so this mismatch creates mental noise. So this is why you often feel stuck or foggy during these times. Your brain will often slow you down on purpose when it senses unresolved risk. So if you're thinking things like, why can't I focus? Why am I tired all the time? Why do simple things just seem so hard? It may be because something that you're seeing or feeling doesn't make sense yet. So your mind is protecting you from acting too quickly and without clarity. And so you need to take time, not to clear your mind, but to reduce unresolved inputs. So here are 3 grounding stages for you to think about doing. The first one, you name the unresolved pattern. You don't need proof, just honesty. You say to yourself, something about this dynamic feels inconsistent. So naming it reduces background noise immediately. And number 2, stop adding new input. If something feels unclear, take a pause. Seeking reassurance, asking 10 people for opinions, replaying the same question. More input without resolution increases overload. So put a pause on those things. And number 3, shift from ruminating to observing. Instead of saying, why is this happening? Try saying, what keeps repeating? Like I've said in the previous videos, patterns clarify faster than explanations. And this is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not about control or punishment. They're about protecting mental bandwidth. A boundary might sound like, I need consistency to stay engaged. I don't continue conversations that don't feel clear. I step back when behavior doesn't match words. When you set boundaries, mental noise drops because your system no longer has to compensate for ambiguity. So if you're feeling mentally overloaded, you're not failing, you're not broken, you're just responding to too much unresolved input. Mental clarity often comes after you've taken a pause on inputs, not after you push harder. Now, for today's journal question, I actually want you to take an inventory. So the question is, what are the top 5 sources of input in my life right now? People, apps, conversations, responsibilities, worries. Which of these energize me? But which of these quietly drain me? And a follow-up question is, what 3 things can I remove, pause, mute, or limit this week to reduce mental noise? And what boundary would create immediate relief? So that's it for today's video. I hope I see you on Follow-Up Friday. But now we've got the month of March coming up. And the theme for March is going to be wise decisions and long-term self-respect. So I hope you'll tune in March for the last 4 videos of the 12 video series on boundaries. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and bye for now.